This next lesson is on multiplying decimals by whole numbers. It's just a quick introduction lesson. So let's begin with these exercises on your whiteboard as a warm-up. So which answer is correct? So for A, you have 35 times 10. Which answer is correct? 1, 2, 3, or 4? You're going to write the correct answers on your whiteboard, and then you can begin with your lesson for today. So let's just take a review of how we're using our base 10 blocks. So in the context of decimals, we're now using the hundreds blocks as a ones block. One column or a row of the ones blocks is now a tenths block, and one unit of the tenths block is now a hundredths block. Okay, so we have 1, 1/10, 1/100th. Sorry, I'm going too fast here. So if I have 1, 1, how many hundredths do I have? Well, if I have 1, 1, I have 100 of these tiny little blocks to make up for it. If I have 1, 1, I have 10 tenths. And if I have 1/10, I have 10 hundredths. So let's build the model of 3.2 with base 10 materials. So how do I do this? Well, I'm going to need 3 ones, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to need 2 tenths. So 1, 2. That's how I would represent 3.2 or 3.2 with base 10 materials. Now, if I look at this one here, how many tenths are in a 1? Well, I have 10 tenths, and that makes up 1 cube. So if you add up the 10 tenths, you get 1, so 10 tenths equals 1. Therefore, I can write 10 times 0.1 equals 1. What did I do with this decimal here? Well, I moved it over 1 to the right. So what do 10/8 add up to? Well, if I had 10/8, it's going to add up to 0.10. We could also represent this as 8 tenths times 0.1 times a tenth equals 0.8. Okay, now what do 13 tenths add up to? So there's 13 tenths. You can regroup tenths as a 1, so you can regroup 10 of these. You can regroup them as a 1, and then you have 3 tenths here that remain. So 13 tenths add up to 1.3. You have 1 whole and you have 3 tenths. So therefore, we can write it out as 13 times 0.1 equals 1.3. So my decimal place is moving 1 to the left. So if I want to find 13 divided by 10 using 2 different methods. In the first method, I'm dividing a whole number by 10. So what is 13 divided by 10? Well, we learned in the last lesson, if we're dividing by 10, we move 1 place to the left. So the answer is 1.3. In our second method here, I'm going to multiply the whole numbers by decimals. So if I have 1 whole divided by 10, it equals a tenth. So 1 divided by 10 is going to equal 0.1. So if I have 13 ones and 13, when I divide by 10, I get 13 tenths. So 13 divided by 10 is the same as saying 13 times 0.1. A tenth is 0.1. So this as well is going to give you 1.3. We learned yesterday when we multiply, we learned that when we divide by 10, we move that decimal place 1 to the left. So just like we did here by multiplying by 0.1, we've moved that decimal place 1 to the left. So how many places did we shift? We shifted it 1 to the left. So to multiply 0.1, you shift the decimal point in the same way, 1 place to the left. So let's do these exercises. Let's do A together. If I'm doing 29 times 0.1, it's the exact same thing as saying 29 divided by 10. So I'm taking that decimal place and I'm shifting it once to the left. So the answer is going to equal 2.9. Please try B, C, and D, and E on your whiteboards, and then you can resume with your screencast. So to multiply by 0.01, you can shift the decimal point 2 places to the left. So the same way you divide numbers by 100, we can multiply numbers by 0.01 because there are 100 hundredths in a whole. So we follow this rule. So to multiply by 0.01, you shift the decimal point 2 places to the left. Okay, let's try these exercises. We'll do A together. So if I have 317, I'm going to multiply by 0.01. So I'm going to shift this decimal 2 places to the left. So right now it's here. I'm multiplying by hundredths. The 1 is in the hundredths place. So I'm going to move it 2 decimal places to the left. So I'm going to end up with the answer of 3.17. Now here I have my 1 in the hundredths place again, so I'm going to move my decimal place 2 places to the left. So I'm going to end up with 4.52. I want you to give C to H a try on your whiteboards, and then you can resume your screencast and carry on with your lesson. So we can use addition to find, how can we use, addition to find these products? So if I have 3 times 5, what can I do to solve that using addition? Well, it's the same as saying 5 plus 5 plus 5. If I have 3 times 2.1, how can I write that as addition? Well, it's the same as saying 2.1 plus 2.1 plus 2.1. So what addition, we wrote the addition question here. So how can we represent this then? Using base 10. So we're going to use the base 10 models here to add up this 2.1 plus 2.1. So I have 2 and 1/10, 2 and 1/10, 2 and 1/10. So that is equal to saying we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ones, decimal 1, 2, 3 tenths. So how can we do 3.21? How can we write that? Well, you're going to get the exact same answer. So you're timesing the 2 by the 3, so you're getting 6. Then we'd multiply the decimal digit. So we now multiply 3 times, we multiply the 1 times 3, so we're getting 6.3. We're multiplying both of these digits by 3 separately. So let's look at this here. We have 3.2 times 2. How am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to first multiply. I need to multiply the 1's digit by 2. So 2 times 3 is 6. Put my decimal in. Now I need to multiply 2 by 2. So it's decimal 4. So 3.2 times 2 is equal to 6.4. Let's try B together. So we have 2.3 times 3. So I'm going to start by multiplying my 1's digit by 3. So this is going to equal 6. My decimal place goes in the same spot. Now I'm going to take this 3 and I'm going to multiply the 10th digit. So 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So my answer is 6.9. I want you to try C to H on your whiteboards, and then you're going to resume your screencast. So let's just multiply 132 times 2 with no decimals in it. So if we follow our standard algorithm, we're going to go 2 times 2, which is 4, 2 times 3, which is 6, and then 2 times 1, which is 2. So the answer is 264. Now, if we look at H from the examples you just did on your whiteboard, we had 13.2 times 2. So if I line this up in my algorithm, I have 13.2 times 2. I'm going to line this up the exact same way that I did, okay? In addition and subtraction, it was really important that your decimals line up. Here, you don't need your decimal points to line up, okay? You're going to multiply this out. So 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 1 is 2. The important thing is that the decimal has to line up in your answer. So if your decimal is in the 10th place in the question, it has to be in the 10th place in your answer, okay? So we bring that right back decimal, right back down to 26.4. So we're going to use your journals, or if you can on your whiteboards, line this up properly. You're going to complete this multiplication. So if we have, we're going to create our algorithm. So 36.4 times 2. So the 2 is going to go right under the 4. Now I can multiply it out. So 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 6 is 12. I'm going to put the 2, carry the 1. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. Now because the decimal is in the 10th place here in the question, I'm going to take this decimal and I'm going to put it right back in the exact same spot here. So the answer is 72.8. I apologize, this is so hard with a mouse. Let's do B together before you try some on your own. So we have 52.8, and I'm multiplying by 3. Now, let's begin. So remember, we're just lining this up like this. What is 3 times 8? So 24, I'm going to put the 4, I'm going to carry the 2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2, 8. 3 times 5 is 15. I'm going to look at where the decimal point was in the question. It was in the 10th place, and I'm going to put it right back in the exact same spot, so 158.4. I want you to try C, D, E, and the bonus, and then you can resume your screencast when you are finished. Here are some word problems for you to try on your whiteboards as well before you begin your assignment for today. I want you to create yourself an algorithm. Again, we are only multiplying, so you know that these questions are multiplication questions. When you are done these 3 word problems on your whiteboard, resume your screencast to see your assignment for today. So if you solved these for A, the answer should have been 5.2 kilometers. For B, it was 4.5 kilograms. And for C, it was 32.4 meters. Your assignment today is your Jump Math book, pages 31 to 33. When you are done, you're going to come check in with me to go through your answers.